Yafkahu Qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to our program. I'd like to start off by congratulating everyone. As we know, today is the birthday of Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, our 10th Imam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa sallam. So in today's program, we're going to talk a little bit about Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam. We're going to talk about, of course, the basic stuff with his birth. And then we're going to tell a few stories and try to describe the character of Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam. So where do we start? Let's start off with his father. His father, as we know, he was the 10th Imam. His father was Imam Muhammad Taqi alayhi salam. His mother was Samana. He was born on the 15th of Zulhajj, 214 Hijri, which, as we know, is today. So his birthday was today. And he became a shaheed on the 3rd of Rajab, 254 Hijri. And he was born in the holy city of Medina. Now, one of the most interesting things I found about Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam is that he became an Imam at the age of 8 years old. So Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam was, of course, the youngest Imam. And he, got that position of the Imamate at the age of 8 years old. So how many people, what are usual 8-year-olds doing? And look, there's an Imam, placed down by Allah SWT at the age of 8 years old, in charge of the whole, Shia nation. So that was, as the age of 8 years old. There's a story about that, as we know that the Caliph at the time, the Caliph who had poisoned Imam Muhammad Taqi alayhi salam, our 9th Imam, was Muta'assim. And what he did was he sent a Quran teacher. He had two options, because he knew that if he killed Imam, if he killed the Imam, then of course the people would revolt against him and they would overthrow him. But if he just let him be there and he didn't do anything to him, also they would probably revolt too, because they would start to grow that the love of the Imam, and he wouldn't be able to stop it. So he made a compromise in the middle, and what he chose to do was he had a Quran teacher come, and this Quran teacher hated the Ahlul Bayt. He hated anything to do with them. He had a huge hate. So he told him, he said, why don't he's going to go teach the Imam about the Quran. He was going to go teach him, because this guy, he knew a lot about the Quran, so he was going to go teach him. So during one of the classes, while teaching the Imam, the guy thought to himself, the Quran teacher, he thought, I don't have to translate it right. I can just throw in a few, I can translate the Quran whichever way I want, really. I can throw in anything. He's not going to know. So the guy translated it. He translated a few things wrong. And right away, the Imam knew that's not how it was. And the Quran teacher went back to Muta'assim, and he told him that, he wasn't a student of this. He was actually teaching. He was teaching me. I had no idea about anything like that. And, the guy, Muta'assim, got so mad at him that he killed him, actually. So that was a story. He was 8 years old, and he already knew everything. He was given the divine knowledge. So most people, we don't know a quarter of that at age 100, let alone 8 years old. So that's just, incredible. One of the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, all these caliphs, we know throughout all of the Imams, but especially the life of Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, that all of the different caliphs, they all tried to stop them. They all did, whatever they could. But at the end of the day, his message was still clear. His message was still able to go through up until, now, hundreds of years later, in which we're still, going through. Now, let's now go over the titles of Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam. I'm just going to go over two of his most famous titles. One is Al-Hadi, which means the guide, and the other is Naqi, which means the pure one. So Imam Ali Naqi is, usually Naqi is usually the most common, title that people use. So far we've gone over some of the main points. We went over, of course, the facts of his birth. We went over his father. We talked about his mother. We talked about where he was born. And like I was mentioning about the early struggles, that how much in the environment he had to go into. That it's not just, he was 8 years old and, he had to, it's not just like that. He was 8 years old and he was in this time where, such the cruel caliphs were after them. They were, constantly going after all of the imams. So, yes, that was that. Now, there's many stories we were talking about the piety and that Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam possessed. There's one particular story about a man named Abu Hisham. And Abu Hisham, he was a man that one day he was just upset that, he was so poor. He was upset by the extreme poverty that he was in the bad position that he was in. He was feeling really bad. So he went over to Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam, and Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam told him to come in. He told him to sit down. And Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam said, "Oh Abu Hisham, do you have the capacity to thank Allah for which one blessing that He has bestowed upon you?" Abu Hisham, he didn't even know what to say. He didn't know how to answer to this. The Imam alayhi salam then replied, "Allah has gifted you belief, so the fire of hell is forbidden upon you. God has given you health, and He helps you to obey Him. He gives you contentment with which He has safeguarded your respect among people." Then the Imam said, the Imam then said, "Oh Abu Hisham, I reminded you all of this because I thought you have come here to complain about who has given you everything. I have ordered my servant to give you 100 dinars, take it from him." So this is just a huge story. You can see that Abu Hisham was a man, poverty. He didn't have anything. So one day he was feeling bad that he was in this position for so long. He was in, extreme poverty. So he went over to the Imam, and the Imam reminded him that, we have to be grateful for everything he has. Even the little things. Like you don't realize that even being a Muslim, to be able to call ourselves Muslims, the ability to read our namaz, these are things that have become so regular for us. Like some people, you read your namaz, it's so easy. But we don't realize that, millions of people around the world, even our fellow Muslims, aren't able to read their namaz. So instead of, being upset about something else, we should look at everything down to the small points. Now, what do we have? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to, be born Muslims. That, so many people don't have that chance. So many people don't realize this. Up until it's too late, they're, in the darkness. They're not able to see the light. So there's many different things that we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. And of course, complaining, we should never complain about anything, good or bad, because we know it's all a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether, I do good on a test or whether I do bad, well, our reaction should always be the same. Whether you get good news, you get bad news, should always be the same. Because whether it's good or bad, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's all part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine plan for us. So we should just, do with what we have. And inshallah, like what happened, the man, Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam, he did give him 100 dinars. So the man, he needed money. Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam still gave him some money. So we should just, put our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the keys and say, we go, we bow down to your will. Whatever happens, happens. And that's the easiest way to do it. That's how we try to live our lives. So, like I was mentioning about that story, so this really shows the personality of Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam. That he's trying to tell us all the different imams. They all try to tell us something. And it's these days like the birth anniversary that we have to take into account. We have to look at everything because these are the people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on this planet as a guide for us. So that on the day of judgment, we should be able to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that these are the people we follow. That is how we are able to get to the right path. There's another story about a man named Abdul Rehan. And he lived in the city of Isfahan, which is in it's the city, it's Rehan. He lives in the city of Isfahan, which is in current day Iran. And, people asked him, a story that the people asked him, they said, why did you become a Shia Muslim? And why he accepted the imamat of Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam. And the man said, I was very poor and had nothing except good conversation and the courage to speak bravely. The people of Isfahan took me along with a group of men to seek justice from Mutawakkil. Now Mutawakkil was one of the cruel caliphs at the time. He was very cruel. He really had no respect for the people. He would use all of the money for his own, gain. He would use all the people's, taxes, all the money. He would use it for himself. So he was very, a lot of people didn't like him. And of course, like I mentioned, Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam was seen as, that figure. He didn't want the people to, he didn't want him to have that influence over the people so that he could, revolt, because he wasn't very popular, as I said. As we were standing outside Mutawakkil's palace, Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam was ordered to be brought to the court. I asked one of the audience, "Who is this Ali Naqi, whom Mutawakkil has summoned to his court?" He replied, "He is an Alvi, and the Shias accept him as their Imam, probably the Caliph, by order for his killing." Abdul Rahman said, "I said to myself that I shall not move from my place unless I see that Alvi man. Let me see who he is." Suddenly a man riding on a horse was seen coming. People stood in 2 rows in his respect. The very moment I saw him, his love filled my heart, and I started to pray for the safety and well-being of this man. So just at the, this is the story of, Abdul Rahman. The guy just saw, he was a poor man, and he just saw the Imam once. He just, saw him. He saw that, where he was being brought. And just by seeing him, just by seeing where he was able to, the love had come to in his heart. So he said, I started to pray for his safety and well-being. Oh Allah, protect this man from the enmity of Mutawakkil. He was moving on his horse without looking left or right. When he came near me, he looked at me from the top to bottom and said, Allah has fulfilled your prayer and has blessed you with a long life, wealth, and children. When I saw and heard this, my body started shivering. My friend lifted me up and asked me, what happened to you? I said to him I was fine and I didn't tell them anything. When I returned to Isfahan, Allah blessed me with wealth and 10 sons. I was more than 70 years old now. I accepted the imamat of him, who the secrets of my heart and his prayers in my favor were granted. Now, like I was mentioning, this is the story about a man who, he was a poor man, and he just, he would always go with the people to try and, seek justice. He was that type of person. Nothing but, he says, nothing but good conversation and the courage to speak bravely. So he saw Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam. And just by seeing him, he made this prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, may Allah grant him safety and well-being, just by seeing him. And after that, what happened? The man, Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam, said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has fulfilled your promise. He has fulfilled your prayer. And now, he was gifted with so many things. So this is what we have to do. Even for, we say like our 12th Imam, may Allah hasten his parents. We know that, we may never see him in our lives. We may see him, we may never see him. But at the end of the day, we have to try and, whatever we do, it has to be in his way. So every single day, whenever we try to learn something, we should try to learn about our 12th Imam. And we have to constantly pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he grants him his reappearance fast, that our 12th Imam comes very fast, and, for his safety and protection. So that, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala counts us as those pious people. He counts us as those ones that, we're constantly waiting for our Imam. That it's not something like, the Imam will come one day, but that we're constantly waiting. Everything we do builds up to that moment. Like I said, we may see him, we may not see him, but at least we'll always be ready. So if we do see him, then we'll make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happy. That we'll be right there, ready to fight for our 12th Imam. And if not, then, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us the sawab that at least we tried to do something. At least we made an effort. So, yes, so that was, I mentioned some stories about Imam Ali Naqi alayhi salam, that, the power that he had, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. Like I mentioned, at the age of 8 years old, how much, responsibility he had at 8 years old, that he was, the 10th Imam, and how, he led the whole nation. And we were talking about how the people, the caliphs, of course, were afraid of all the Imams, because if they ever got enough power, if the people saw how good they were and how, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed them, then, of course, they would revolt against them. And like I was mentioning about the Caliph Mutawakkil, he was a very cruel man. He was a person who, wasted all the, people's money. He was unjust. And, at the end of the day, all of these people, he tried to kill our Imam. And what happened to him? The Imam made the dua of the wrong against the unjust. He prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that dua that, this unjust man, and it said that soon after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded. And after the prayer, Mutawakkil, he lived no longer than 3 days after this prayer. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does give us a chance. Even if we commit a lot of bad deeds, even if we do a lot of bad things, He still gives us a chance. It's not like, you do something bad, all of a sudden you're done. All of these caliphs, you see, they had a long chance. It wasn't 5 minutes they were caliphs and then, they were dead. They had a long chance. And the amount of injustices they did to the imams and the prophets, so many bad things they did to them. And it wasn't just something that, I do one and they're done. It's not like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's different ways of punishing people. Sometimes if you do something bad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right away will get you. Just like a warning. But sometimes the people keep doing bad and bad over and over and over again until pretty soon, they 100% deserve it. That you had a chance to do good, you had a chance to stop it, but you didn't take that opportunity. So inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us all the tawfiq that we're able to learn more about our imams and we're able to know more about our prophets and able to know more about all the people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent upon us as guides. So that on the day of judgment, when that time comes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us, He's looking over our book of records, we can be those people that say, yes, we were the followers and we were the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt and we did follow their teachings. So, yes, that's the end of our program today. Thank you for everyone who participated in our program. Now we're going to do Allahumma kulli waliyika for the safety and protection of our 12th Imam. And inshallah, we are all helpers of our 12th Imam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala ba'i. Fi hadhihi as-sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a. وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khuda Hafiz.